Episode 7, The Rundown. I'm Gabe Henderson. Of course, as always, and always, Cal Stackpole joins me today. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm so excited to be out here after months of speculation and positional breakdowns. I mean, that's pretty much all we've been doing up to this point.
Yep.
And to be back on the field, 4 days of practice, being able to talk to players, talk to coaches, just observe everything that's going on. So, hey, I'm excited to recap it with you.
Today, I feel like day 4, which is today, day 4 just felt like football season.
Yep.
First day of pads, everybody's out here. I mean, the guys were, thudding up a little bit more. I mean, making more contact. So it just felt like an in-season practice. And I feel like you, even with the fans being here, you could just tell they were excited, they were ready. They were, just into, practice. So it's been a exciting 6 weeks leading up to, this moment right here, which is training camp. And I'm ready to get started. If you got any takeaways, feel free to go for it.
I think we're going to keep it, somewhat short today, just kind of going through each position and quick takeaways, basically the biggest storylines from each position. So, you have to start with a quarterback, right?
Yep.
So, as Gruden said, it's a 3-man competition, Dwayne Haskins, Case Keenum, and Colt McCoy. So in terms of the quarterbacks these past 4 days, what has stood out to you?
Probably what stood out to me most is Colt McCoy's leadership in the huddle.
Okay.
We haven't seen him much, of course, in mini camp and the offseason because he's been dealing with a few things. He was dealing with a few things, but just seeing his leadership, his command in the huddle. His deep balls were on point. His intermediate game, his intermediate, throws, like everything was precise with Colt. You can tell he didn't miss a step, and that was one of my big question marks coming into it was, man, is he going to be rusty? He hasn't practiced much. He hasn't really been, running routes with these receivers, but you can tell he put in the work to get back to where he is. Yeah. Case Keenum looks phenomenal as always. He's been looking great since the first day he showed up here.
Yeah,
so
sharp,
he's been looking great, and then Dwayne is starting to come on. Like from day 1 to day 4 right now, like Dwayne looked really good. So there's a strong quarterback race. Can't forget Josh Woodrum. He's been pushing these guys also.
He's been in there for a couple plays,
Yeah, so I think all 3 of those guys have been, a really key contribution to this team. And you can tell, like, when the new quarterback's in the huddle, new quarterback's leading the offense, you don't really miss a beat. Like, every quarterback brings a different, skill set to the game, but at the same time, they all have been dynamic. They've all been making plays, and it's exciting if you're a Redskins fan and you're a Redskins fan being out here seeing what's been put on the field behind us.
Yeah, for sure. I think in terms of the quarterbacks, the first couple days when all 3 guys were practicing, there was some goods, there was some bads, kind of just getting back into the flow of it. Day 3 yesterday, scheduled day off for Colt McCoy as he works back because he missed the offseason with injury recovery.
Right.
And I feel like day 3, for whatever reason, the quarterbacks maybe were not as sharp.
Right.
I think each of them threw a couple interceptions. Quentin Dunbar had 3 interceptions.
Defense gets paid too.
That's the thing. The defense is pretty good, but you could just tell there was a couple throws, a couple missed throws, a couple misreads. But then they come out here today, and they're all firing.
Right.
I think this was the best day by the offense,
for sure,
by far. Just in terms of the QBs being on target with their receivers, the receivers making plays. Dwayne Haskins threw a bunch of touchdowns during goal line drills. And the other thing about Haskins is he seemed so much more comfortable today.
Right.
After throwing he threw a touchdown to Trey Quinn, and Quinn spiked it and ignited the crowd. And then Haskins went over and dapped him up and gave him a handshake. Or when Donald Parham, he scored a touchdown, he was running over there. You can tell he's starting to get more comfortable in this offense.
Right.
And I know that Terry McLaurin even said after practice, that was the best that he's looked. That's it, best that Terry has seen him look. So it's a good sign.
Yeah.
I think today was a really good day for the quarterbacks.
Right, really good day for quarterbacks. The running backs, which is arguably the strongest position group on this team. Yeah. Them in the D-line, you can argue which group is, which group has more talent, which group is deeper, which group has more depth. But the running backs, they've been looking solid also. AP, Geis. It was good to see Geis. Back out there running.
Exactly.
All those speculations with the hamstring. He proved everybody wrong. And I think that was one of his main points, is basically saying, like, I'm okay. I'm fine. And him and AP's been getting a lot of reps. Samaje Perine has been looking good. And I mean, Chris Thompson has probably been my biggest standout at the running back position.
Okay.
I know since we're on a time limit, I can't hit every running back.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Biggest standout at running back to me so far this training camp is Chris Thompson.
Okay.
I mean, it's his first full offseason he was able to prepare, because the previous off seasons he's been coming off of injury. So he's looked more explosive this year.
Yeah.
He looks like he's having more fun this year, and it's really exciting to see. I mean, I honestly feel like this offense can be dynamic, and that solely relies on how ready to play Chris Thompson can be, and he looks really good.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway for me, and I'll keep it short, was, like you said, Darius Geis coming back, coming off the torn ACL, missed all of off-season workouts.
Yeah.
We weren't exactly sure what he would be like when he came back, and he's been, out there every single day, no setbacks, and so it seems like he's starting to get back into the groove. Maybe, still maybe not getting as many carries as he works back, but
yeah.
The main thing is he's back and he looks good and he's ready to go. I mean, he said this past year was the longest year of his life.
Sure.
So he's just so ready to get back on the field. And, it's hard to assess running backs during these sessions, but I think just the fact that he's back on the field and healthy is the biggest thing for this running back group.
Speaking of being on the field and being healthy, Jordan Reed.
Yep.
Everybody knows how good Jordan Reed can be when he's healthy. Seeing him healthy this training camp, these last few days, of course, he didn't practice today, but everything's fine, but still, like, the plays that he's been making all camp so far,
seriously.
like, he looks just phenomenal. Like, I know I was on the sideline early, and Landon Collins was basically saying, like, I'm only going if Jordan Reed goes, because, like, I want somebody that's going to get in there, push. Well, I'm not saying that. No,
but he wants to go up against him. He wants to be challenged against the best.
There's other tight ends. I mean, you got your Vernon Davises, your Parhams, your Sprinkles. They're going to challenge Landon Collins also.
Yeah.
But it was like, Jay Reed, like, push me, man, push me. Like, I need you to push me. And Jordan Reed is pushing him. He's a young guy. He can move. He's shifty. I mean, Vernon Davis is probably the speed guy, but Jordan Reed has been elite. I mean, Jay Gruden even said when Jordan Reed's healthy, he's an elite tight end. Like, the guy can play. You can put him at receiver. You can put him in the box. Like, he can do so much for this team. And him leading this tight end group with Vernon Davis, who's going to be Vernon Davis, the 14-year vet. I mean, you know what you're going to get out of him.
Exactly.
Solid production.
Speed.
Right. And
Speed
then,
is still there, too.
Yes. And then
pretty insane.
Jordan Sprinkle. Like, he's a guy that's been
Jeremy
Sprinkle.
Yeah.
He's a guy that's been coming along really well as of late. I mean, just seeing like he's just a tank, man. Like, he's solid.
He is.
He's solid. So that position group can be exciting this year also, and it's good to see them, starting to gel in training camp so far.
Yeah, I think, like you said, Jordan Reed, he's been really good. And then today, I feel like Donald Parham and Jeremy Sprinkle, they caught a bunch of balls today.
Yeah.
So, it was good to see just for the depth of the tight end position and what they can add to this receiving core, which we'll get to next.
Yeah.
And this has been such a fun group to watch because there's so many different wide receivers doing so many different things and providing so many unique skill sets.
Right.
So, I mean, if you want to just give your quick thoughts and I'll give mine, who stood out to you from the wide receiver, what have they been able to do?
Paul Richardson looks great. Trey Quinn looks great. Brian Quick looks great.
He does.
Terry
really
McLaurin looks phenomenal. I know I'm missing some guys. Josh Doxson looks really good. What is his name? The receiver from Georgia State. I can't think of his name. Rob Davis looks phenomenal.
He had that catch today. I don't know. Do you know who he caught it over?
I don't remember who he caught it over.
But he pretty much mossed the guy. He caught it right over him.
Right.
And then he was so pumped up, and he just chucked the ball into the stands.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, wait, what? Like, what's going on?
Yep.
But it was cool to see that raw emotion for a guy that was out. And it's almost like he became the forgotten guy because you brought in rookie receivers.
Yeah.
And he's still recovering from injury, but now he's back. And
he's making plays.
The athleticism is there.
I'm excited to see what he can do this preseason. And Steven Sims has looked really good, Darvin Kidsey. And I saved my biggest, probably my most impactful player this offseason at the receiver position, Cam Sims.
Okay.
Cam Sims has looked phenomenal. I mean, if the ball is anywhere in his vicinity, he's going to make the catch. He's going to make a spectacular catch. I mean, of course, you saw the play yesterday that we put up on social media.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's been doing, that's just one play of many that he's showed the coaches, he showed the fans that like, hey, I'm back.
Yeah.
Like I'm ready to play. I can be a go-to guy, and he's a playmaker. So it's been this group can be underrated, under the radar type of group that can help this offense get to that next level.
Exactly. Just real quick on Sims, it was interesting because during the offseason, O'Connell said, he was almost the forgotten guy last season because he had a good training camp and then he got hurt the first game. And O'Connell was saying how, he pretty much shed that label, forgotten guy label, during OTAs because he was catching everything.
Right.
Minicamp OTAs, and that is continued. He is every single practice. It doesn't matter which quarterback is throwing in the ball.
Never fails.
He's getting open, and I don't know if I've seen him drop a ball yet. I mean, he's just strong hands, big physical threat. So it's been nice to see him carry that over.
Right. And I mean, just transitioning to offensive line, which is probably the most talked about position for obvious reasons. But the guys that are here right now, the guys that's here, making plays, those guys have been doing phenomenal. I mean, Morgan Moses has stepped up, and he's a guy that I think has really taken that leadership role this offseason. And I mean, of course, I interviewed him from Park Drive, and one of his goals was to, take that leadership step, take care of his body, be that guy in the locker room, in the weight room, on the field that, guys can lean onto. So, I mean, having him with already a talented offensive line that we have right now, I think the sky's the limit. I mean, we've seen some big gashes from the running backs, and it's just,
there's some big holes. Yeah, for sure.
You see Brandon Sheriff on the second level, blocking linebackers, and it's like, hey, like, this offensive line can still be really good.
Yeah, and I think the offensive line has really showed its potential during the one-on-one drills.
Right.
O-line, D-line, mano-a-mano, and especially today, that Morgan Moses, I pretty much just sat there for the entire session and kind of just took it all in.
Yeah.
Morgan Moses did a really good job. Brandon Sheriff, he handled ionitis and pain. Even Wes Martin had a couple good reps, which is promising. And then Eric Flowers too. I mean, I know it's been said, getting beat off the edge or maybe be struggling a little bit at tackle, but he was holding his own today too.
Yeah, he's doing. I feel like he's doing fine. I feel like all these guys are making steps day by day, and that's all you ask from all these offensive linemen, literally from everybody. But sticking to the offensive line group, like, all you ask is like, hey, just get better today. Just win today. All we need you to do, okay, you were here yesterday, make one step tomorrow. And these guys have been doing that. Morgan Moses, Brandon Sheriff, Tony Bergstrom, all those guys have been, taking that leadership role and, making sure everybody is on par. And a guy that stands out to me lastly is Wes Martin. Wes Martin, I mean, we've seen him at different spots here and there, but when he's been in there, like, he's handled his own also. I mean, even in one-on-ones, like, I won't go into details, but Wes Martin has been holding his own.
Yeah, and I think the development of the offensive line, you can see that in team drills, especially today. It seemed like there was way less sacks today, way less quarterback pressure, and that allowed the quarterbacks to get in rhythm with their receivers, which led to them looking better. So I think really the first couple days the defense asserted itself, and you kind of expected that. The defense should be further along. It has a bunch of returning pieces, has a really talented front, talented secondary. But today you could see that that defense was getting neutralized a little bit, and that's not on the defense. That's on the offense upping their game up, because what the defense is going to provide.
The defensive line is making this offensive line better. I mean, the Redskins' defensive line is the top 5 defensive line in the NFL. So to have an offensive line that's holding their own against a top 5 defensive line, because John Allen, Deron Payne, Ioannidis, all those guys, JoJo Wicker, like, all these guys have been, doing what they're going to do. We already know what we're going to get from John Allen. We already know. I mean, in the one-on-one yesterday, I asked him, I was like, do you have any new goals? Like, what are your goals this year? And he's like, nothing's changed, just dominate. And, like, having that mindset and, passing that on to guys like Tim Settle and Ioannidis and Deron Payne, like, those, it takes a leader like John Allen to, pick those guys up. Yeah,
and, I mean, John Allen today, during a one-on-one, it was against Ross Pierschbaker, and he, as soon as the ball was snapped, he just did a swim move and he was behind. I don't even know if Pierschbaker touched him. Like,
he's so
that
fast.
Was how quick he was in the backfield. And while that shows the gap between offense and defense, Pierschbaker's going to come back from that, and he's going to get better from that. And the other thing is that it doesn't seem like there's really been a drop-off with when you bring in a guy like Settle and Brantley,
Yeah.
they are just they'll rotate in there, and then they've been making a lot of plays in the backfield. So I think the biggest thing for the defensive line is just keeping that rotation strong and keeping guys like Ioannidis and Payne and Allen fresh, so they can be at their best throughout the game and throughout the season.
Right, and moving on to outside linebackers, we already know we're going to get out of Kerrigan. Kerrigan's going to be in every play. He's going to make plays. He's going to do what he does, and he's still shown that. I mean, what he does is just, it's so textbook, and it's so to the point, and it's so perfect that you really don't have to say anything to him as a coach. It's like, hey, Kerrigan, good job, or you probably should have been in this position. So you know what you're going to get out of him. On the other side of the ball, Ryan Henderson has really been phenomenal. I really like how he progressed this offseason. He said his big thing was to get faster and more flexible, and you see that. You see that now, getting around the edge, and that's going to make this defensive line better also. I guess that's the outside linebacker group better also, and having a guy like Montez Sweat under your wing, learning from both of those guys, it can be scary this year. It can be scary, and I mean, Casanova McKenzie, we saw him today making plays. So you got so many outside linebackers that can make plays. Of course, we all know this defense is probably, like I said before, this defense is probably a top 5 defense in the NFL.
It could be, yeah. And so I just want to touch on McKenzie real quick because we've talked about Kerrigan, we've talked about Sweat a ton.
Right.
McKenzie was kind of a forgotten guy because he got injured last year, but he had made a couple strides last year, and he was really ready to get back this year and show what he could do. And with Jordan Brailford on the PUP list, that's giving him more opportunities.
Right.
And he's been living in the backfield. Like, so our other writer, Ryan
Fowler, give him a shout out.
Ryan Fowler, shout out Ryan. He's been looking closely at Casanova, or it's not even that he's trying to look at it. He's just he's watching the quarterbacks and he's like, hey, who's in the backfield? And it's McKenzie.
Right.
And one thing about him today during one-on-ones, there was one play where he just totally beat the offensive tackle with his speed to the outside, and then the next rep he bull rushed up the middle and got to the quarterback.
Creative, man.
So,
he's so
that
creative.
just shows the versatility, and if he's a guy who can also it's another thing like with the defensive line. The rotation, if the rotation is stronger, that's going to keep the top guys fresh, and as a unit, they're going to be better.
Right, and moving on to the linebacker side of the ball, John Bostic has been probably the biggest standout in my opinion. I mean, his leadership. I mean, a guy like that to come in, he came in with May, June, somewhere around that time.
Yeah, he came in May.
Yeah, so seeing him now and seeing him, with this defense, like, we already know he's a veteran, but he just looks so comfortable in this defense. Him, Sean Dion Hamilton, Josh Harvey Clemens, you already know he gained 15 to 20 pounds. He looks solid. He's still got his speed. Cole Holcomb, he's looking really good. And I can't think of the other.
Marcus Smith?
Yeah.
BJ Blunt?
Marquise Flowers, BJ
Marquise
Blunt.
Flowers.
Marquise Flowers is a guy that's really stood out to me so far this offseason. He's a big frame, tall guy, and his presence is felt when he's on the field.
Yeah, I think the one thing I'll touch on real quick about the linebackers is you're seeing the different skill sets. In different situations. There's a lot of guys who can do a lot of different things. Starting with Bostic, the communicator. He's going to get everyone on the same page.
Right.
And then from there, they're going to use their different skill sets to make this unit as good as possible. So, I've liked what I've seen.
And lastly, the DB room. We'll just combine corners and safeties together because they're always together. This room can be special. Like having a guy like Landon Collins and a guy that's going to hold everybody accountable. We sat our last episode 6 was with Kaishan Jarrett, who's the DB's coach, and he was basically breaking out all the DBs and basically saying like, hey, this is what each player brings to the room, and we've seen that. If you missed episode 6, it's on YouTube right now and on Redskins.com. But Kaishan Jarrett was just giving his analysis of every single player, and starting with Landon Collins all the way down to the end of the roster with we just go rookie Jimmy Moreland. Like everybody holds everybody accountable. Nobody's missing a beat. If somebody gets burnt or somebody misses a play, it's like, all right, we all messed up, and that's what you need. And this has been a strong point of emphasis for the DB groups. Like, just holding everybody accountable, and everybody just seems on board. Josh Norman seems on board. He's the last player at practice every day.
Every single day,
like working out. So, these guys want it. Like, they want to be great. They have their eye on the prize. So, it's only a matter of time that, in my opinion, that their hard work will pay off.
Yeah, real quick on the DBs. I mean, so Josh Norman has 3 interceptions. He had 3 in the first 2 days, I think it was.
Yep.
And then yesterday,
Quentin Dunbar
had 3. And then today, did anyone have interceptions today? I'm trying to.
No,
there might have been. I didn't get to see 7-on-7s as much, so I'm not sure. But I mean, yesterday it was just the defense was. I feel like it was picking the ball off a lot, and and they add crredit to the DBs.
Monte Nicholson's look really good also.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll touch on that more as we go forward.
Right.
But we just wanted to give a quick
rundown
of each position. Before we go here, I just wanted to really quick go through our biggest standout, our biggest rookie standout from the draft, so biggest draft pick standout, biggest free agent standout, and then who do you think has been the guy that showed the most out of everyone this entire?
Start it off.
So I'll start it off. So I think draft class standout would have to be Kelvin Harmon. I think he's making a ton of plays. He's catching everything. He's out there after practice every day working with Josh Norman. So it's a close race. I mean, Terry McLaurin has been really good too, and obviously Montez Sweat. And I mean, you have Haskins, but I think based on what we saw in OTAs, I feel like Harmon has just shown even more, and shown that he can be that contributor right away. Going to free agent signing, I think John Bostic.
For sure. Yeah, you stole mine from me.
Just going from being a free agent 2 months ago to now calling the defense for the starting defense, and he earned a ton of praise from Sean Dion, from Cole Holcomb, from Kerrigan, and he's just going to be that staple in the middle that is going to get everyone in position for what they need to do and make sure the defense collectively is as prepared as it needs to be.
Biggest standout, rookie standout to me is Wes Martin. He looks like he's a starter already. Like you can just that's his mindset.
Yeah.
I mean, of course everybody's rotating right now, but I just feel like when I see him in there, he just basically says this is my job. And he wears that on his shirt, and he doesn't physically wear it, but you can just tell that's the way he carries himself. It's this is my job. I'm gonna I'm gonna work harder than everybody. I don't care if you're a 10-year vet, 12-year vet, 20-year vet. I'm gonna work like a 20-year vet. So having that mindset has been shown on the field already, but at the same time, he has really stood out to me.
Yeah. And then how about the offseason?
John Bostic.
The offseason sign.
John Bostic. I mean, he just looks solid, man. All these guys just really look solid. But those 2 guys have really stood out to me. We can always say the people's corner, Jimmy Moreland. Yeah. I mean, he's been doing his thing. So I mean, there's so much. There's so much to talk about, so much to look forward to. There's so many more practices coming up, and it's going to be exciting.
Exactly. All right, so last thing, I guess second to last thing, biggest standout of the entire camp.
Biggest standout of the entire camp.
First 4 practices.
Okay. Oh, in my opinion, probably Colt McCoy.
Wow.
I still think
everyone?
Out of and that's just my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
Just my opinion. I mean, just some of the throws that he's making, I just didn't expect him to make that throw, make these throws this soon and be this comfortable this soon, because I thought it was just going to be a work in progress. So I was like, all right, he's going to, get reps, get better, but he came out the gate rolling, and just he's that's been my biggest standout. Just he's on time, he's on board with every receiver, every running back. He knows what he's doing, and he just looks normal, looks natural.
Okay. I think staying on the offensive side of the ball, I would have to say Jordan Reed. I mean, it doesn't even matter who he's going up against. Whether he's beating him to the inside, he's beating him up the seam. He's just so big, physical, and fast, and he's catching everything. And he's looking like the go-to receiver right now. Hey, you need a conversion, just go to him, because he's making a ton of plays. So it's been awesome to get him back out here and get our first glimpse of him in 2019.
Right, and defensive side of the ball really quickly will be, biggest standout on the defense side of the ball is Landon Collins.
Okay.
Just looks like it's his defense already. So we'll talk more in depth about it, but he's my biggest standout for sure.
Me defense? Dude, there's been a lot of guys. Probably,
Josh Norman.
I think him and Quentin Dunbar.
I'll give you that.
They're starting corners from last year, could be the starting corners this year. They've really showed out to start training camp and kind of solidified themselves as those 2 staples on the outside.
Right.
So.
Well, we'll have another episode coming from the rundown at training camp. I think that's pretty much all that we have today. We're going to get out of here. I'm excited for the rest of these practices, man. I feel like we got a lot to look forward to. I mean, the fans are happy. We're happy. It's just a good time being out here. So if you don't have anything else, I'm going to shut it down.
Shut it down, man.
For Cal Stackpole, Blaze Basili, Stevie Katz, I'm Gabe Henderson, and this is The Rundown.